Meow.
Meow.
Suppose I could turn that down for our ears. It won't turn it down for the stream. So we've got one concurrent. I'm gonna go with it's either Al or Carmel. What do you think? Because Walters is in like Tennessee or something, right? I assume he's coming home today, but
something like that, yeah.
So there's no audio to play today, no voicemails or nothing, so I can't fuck that up, so that's good.
Good.
Didn't want to bug our correspondents. All the NFL players are on like a little vacation, so figured correspondents deserve the same respect, you know. Eric's is in the chat. Oh, did this for you, Eric's. I know you like to be a sleepy boy sometimes and sleep at 4 in the morning when we normally podcast for you, so.
Dummy.
Yes, we would start at 3 a.m. for him, but still. Chat asking, are these guys any good? You know better, Al. You know we're absolute dog water, dude. I don't know if we've ever had the full countdown. I'm usually stressing for the whole countdown. I've just been sitting here the whole 5 minutes is a long time.
Yeah, well, if you want to stress about something, I'm currently trying to figure out some of my categories.
Trying to figure out some of your categories. Which ones?
All of them.
Josh, you said you would be ready if we did it today.
I might.
You wouldn't do that, would you? You crafty swine.
Yeah, I said I'd be ready, and then we just started playing zombies the other day, and I'm just...
You said you would write down more names in the evening, and I don't think you got back on at night, did you? So... Well, it was just me and Kyle. Oh, I mean, you must have been playing something by yourself then.
I was, yeah. You guys are playing GTA, and I don't necessarily excel at that game. I don't excel at any game, but I wasn't gonna hop on that and ruin the vibe.
Don't sell yourself short, Josh. You excelled at Boggle when we played that. You got that feather in your cap.
I'll take it.
Eric says we're the #1 fantasy football pod in Latvia. Whew! Josh.
We did it.
That brings me tingles in my jingles, pal. You have no idea. Alright, oh shit, 10 seconds. Do I know what I'm doing? Do I know what I'm doing? What is going on, everybody? It is July 18th, 2021. This is podcast number 74. Josh and I are coming at you with a nice little Sunday morning edition of the pod. Figure why the hell not? We can get Eric's in the chat just like he is right now. But before we dive too deep on anything we're doing today, we got to let Walters intro us. Josh, are we feeling rocky or are we feeling happy this nice, easy breezy Sunday morning? Oh, no. Oh. I think Josh, let's do happy since Josh is sleepy.
Welcome to the Hidden Oaks Overdose Football Fix with your lovely hostesses, Garlic Johnson.
We're going to need to take a break here while I change my pants.
And Josh Mitchell.
Sitting here undefeated in everything I do, except fantasy football. No, I'm not allowed to handle crayons.
Not after last time.
Not after last time.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, Garlic and Josh.
Josh, you woke up. Good job, buddy. Did you have a good with a sweep?
Yep.
All right. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the Hidden Oaks Overdose Football Fix podcast. I am one of your lovely hostesses, the Garlic Johnson, and we are joined, as almost always, by your other lovely hostess, the Joshua Mitchell. Josh, say hi to the folks.
Almost always. What's that supposed to mean?
I mean, we've done I've done a couple of pods with just like Walters or something. So,
that's right.
So there's
gave up a couple times.
Yeah, out of 74, I think there might be two where where you are not in them. So, but yeah, hiddenoaksoverdose@gmail.com, anchor.fm/hoodpod, and we've got our new Discord. I can't, give you a nice little URL to that because it's ugly, but join our Discord, link in bio, as cool kids would say. Josh, nice hat. You can also find out more about us at hiddenoaksoverdose.com. You'll see our League of Record history there. There'll also be the segment start times down in the description below for you listeners, especially for YouTube people, not so much, but they're there still. And thank you at Levi Oki Illustration for the beautiful art you've been slinging for us for all these years, and will continue to do so. Josh, how we doing this nice Sunday morning?
Pretty good. That's pretty sumptuous that he'll continue to do that for us. Maybe he'll get fed up with us at some point.
No, Josh, I have, let's just say Caramel Bear is secure. He ain't going nowhere.
Okay. I suppose he's got a child to help grow mustaches with. Yeah.
He has a child, yes.
No, it's not his?
Shh, you've already asked too many questions. So Josh, originally we were going to do this tomorrow night, but you had some weekend plans fall through or something. What happened there? What were you supposed to be doing, and is this worse than that?
Well, it's air conditioned inside, so it is not worse than that.
Oh, were you good? Sorry, go ahead.
So yesterday was my birthday, and we were going to have a kind of a late lunch, early dinner type event. And I was thinking, I don't want to sit around all day and just not, just do nothing. So I was like, let's have a brunch. And then the kid and I will have some steaks, baked potatoes, and grilled broccoli.
Steaks.
So we did that. And then today's plan was, and so that's why yesterday wouldn't work, because the original plan was kind of mid-morning, afternoon, kind of be busy with grocery shopping and all that jazz. And then today I was supposed to be staining my fence. But
wow, what a joy that would be.
Right, and it's 90 degrees Fahrenheit in Latvia, which is probably equivalent to, I don't know.
Well, that's got to be at least like 30 something out there.
Yeah,
maybe even
27, 29, somewhere in there. And so since we changed the plans yesterday, that meant Bob, who would be helping stain the fence, aka doing most of the work while I watched, he was going to stain their deck, but he had to do that today now, since the plans changed yesterday. So there's just a kerfuffle, a lot of shuffling around, and so it worked out today.
Neato, gang, super duper. What would you normally be doing at 10 a.m. on a Sunday if you weren't doing this?
Well, Nikita's out shopping with Mariah for baby clothes, but usually we'd be in church or just leaving church.
Did you skip the Lord today, Josh?
I read the Bible this morning.
All right, well, and how's it feel being 30?
But it's true. Well,
hold on, go back. What book did we read? Where were we at this morning? I mean, Genesis is the beginning. I know Numbers is in there. New Testament's like John, Mark, Paul, Luke, something like that.
Well, I'm on
where
Mark,
were we?
So I'm doing a Bible app where you read through it daily.
Are you doing the Bible Project? Are there like little
reading through the New
videos
Testament.
too?
No.
No.
It's just reading through the scripture and all that jazz. So I'm on Mark right now. So have a 54-day streak going. No big deal. But yeah. But Mariah and Nikita are out shopping for baby clothes. I'm sitting here doing this.
Excellent. Well, lastly, I know there's been a lot of chit chat, but what's it feel like to be fucking 30, Josh? You are old now.
I am slowly but surely making it to my health insurance real age that they've determined for me.
Yeah.
So I'm 30. So in 24 years, I will hit what my health insurance has officially aged me as. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. Like you take that little assessment and it shows you like based on injuries and health history and current feelings, it gives you your health age. And my health age when I took that, oh boy, it was when I was 24, 25, when I started at the county. It said I was 54 years old.
I mean, you've got back problems and like a heart condition and, something going on with the brain. So, I mean, you got a lot going on, don't you?
Yeah, no, it's I'm a medical marvel. I should have died at 27. So
yeah, no, I really didn't know what you were talking about there. Me and my health insurance have an agreement. I never bug them. They never bug me. I don't go to the doctor. I don't make any claims. I just send them a check or they just take money out of my check every month and we just call it a day. It's like a little mafia deal. So
okay, yeah, sounds good. How are you doing, Gar? I know we've chit-chatted a long time, but
yeah, Josh, I'm doing great. I'm getting hyped up for fantasy. I'm like in the admin phase of all my fantasy leagues. We just obviously wrapped up with the rule changes for redraft. I'm about to move into the Champions League, but we can talk about that a little bit at the end, actually. I'm excited for that. But I'm doing great, but let's get rolling because we don't need 10 minutes of chit-chat. Let's move on to the FanTASTY Zone here, Josh. You got any sponsors for us today other than Skybusters, who brings us the FanTASTY Zone probably all year for the podcast?
Yeah, no. I have what might be the saddest sight ever.
Oh, no.
The remaining crumbs of Stacy's pita chips in a baggie. And then a lemon HDZ Rain Total Body Fuel energy drink.
Wow. I just got... I've got a depressed cup of a couple peanut M&Ms I didn't eat last night, and I scrambled to grab because I didn't actually have a sponsor ready this morning. And then I have some delicious-ass sink water brought to you by the City of Detroit Lakes and my bathroom sink. So, in the ice shaker bottle as seen on Shark Tank. Thank you, Gronkowski family. But yeah, thank you again, Skybusters, for bringing us the FanTASTY Zone probably all year this year. Unless their payment runs out with the last couple shows, and then it's going to be awkward. But yeah, those are our sponsors. Josh, we don't have a lot in the FanTASTY Zone today. We do have a couple old comments from Jack on the video from like 3 weeks ago. We probably won't even remember the context of these, but we'll remember the first one. He said, really enjoyed that Carl Bear Sound of Silence voicemail. So, I fucked up the audio last podcast. But then he also says, very shocked to hear Josh sound like the offense would still be just fine without Rodgers. If you both had to pick, what current offense would the Rodgers-less Packers resemble most? From last year, I'd say 2020 Washington football team or Chicago. Bad quarterback, good running back, great wide receiver, none, and nothing after. No, decent tight ends. So Rodgers, if you were to put Rodgers, or what would the Packers look like this year without Rodgers, realistically?
I don't know. I don't know. I think it's a little bit of an assumption to say Jordan Love is a bad quarterback at this point because he hasn't done much. I mean, that's just like saying Trevor Lawrence is a bad quarterback because he hasn't played yet. So obviously different scouting talent or different scouted talents, but Washington football team isn't the worst comparison. It's just, it's a different offense. So I would think it would be more like the San Francisco 49ers, not necessarily when they were in the Super Bowl run, but strong run game, a lot of West Coast offense type stuff. So quick passes, that kind of thing.
So Jimmy G and Jordan J-Lo are about the same? Is that what we're saying?
I wouldn't say that they're the same, but that's just kind of the offense that they're going to run, where if Jordan Love only throws the ball 12 times a game, kind of that Kirk Cousins-esque type offense. Kirk had that, a string of games a couple years ago where he only threw the ball 15 or less times. So I think that would be the goal without Rodgers. With Rodgers, it's just going to kind of be more of last year, where give it to the hot hand. Which was Rodgers.
Going back to the old Doug Marrone, Blake Bortles. If he could pass the ball 0 fucking times, that's my goal. That's what you guys are looking for.
For Love?
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think that, but I do think that it would be a lot of short passes as opposed to those shots that Rodgers always tries to take.
All right. And I mean, everyone on every sports show ever is still talking about Rodgers because there's still literally nothing to talk about. But Josh, what are we, 2.5, 3 weeks out from training camp at this point? I mean, nothing of substance has happened. The golf match has come and gone. At this point, you pretty much have to assume Rodgers is staying, right? Or do you still think something could happen?
I mean, anything's possible. I do think that I was put at ease when I heard on the McAfee show that Peyton Manning came out and said that there's no way he plays in Denver. Just because that it's 3 weeks till training camp, he'd have to learn an entire new offense and all that jazz. And yeah, he's a great quarterback, but it's a lot of different timing things. And Rodgers is one of those. I mean, quarterbacks are known for timing. That's what they have to do. So I don't think he's going to go anywhere. I don't know. I wouldn't be shocked if he pulled an Antonio Brown and showed up in a hot air balloon with like streamers that say "I'm back, Green Bay."
Is he going to call Matt LaFleur a cracker?
Probably not. Because
so you're saying there's a chance?
Yeah. But I'm just saying that Aaron Rodgers has admitted to reading books on science, so he's a cracker.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I have pretty much the same opinion. I mean, the only other thing I can see happening is Rodgers, like the Packers just, playing chicken with him, and then Rodgers going the Carson Palmer route and retiring and just, seeing if the Packers will finally decide, okay, we're going to get nothing. We might as well get something in return versus, absolutely nothing at all, which is what Carson Palmer did with the Bengals and then went to Oakland and then ultimately had success with the Cardinals. So we'll see.
Yeah. And that was something else that I think AJ Hawk had talked about, was that he was so competitive in the match against Brady in the golf game that he's not the type of person to retire while he's still being competitive. So that thought crossed my mind too, but I don't see that. I mean, that would be a less likely scenario.
It wouldn't be a real retirement though. It'd be the same as like, I want to play, but it's like you're calling each other's bluff with the organization. So it's obviously he wants to play, but how much pride does he have? Will he swallow it if the Packers don't make any sort of moves to appease him, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But yeah.
I do have one more thing to add. I know.
Oh, good.
It'll be a shorter show, but.
Oh, yeah. We have one other segment planned. Go for it.
Yeah. So you're the correspondent for the Vikings. I'm the correspondent for the Packers.
Whoa. Dusty Johnson is the boots on the ground. I am Garlic Johnson. Thank you very much. Please show a little goddamn respect.
Dusty Johnson,
yep.
You have an inside line to him, but
absolutely.
I want you to pass this message on to him.
Okay. Hold on. Okay.
You guys are considering moving on from Cousins, I believe, this year or next year, correct?
I believe he's locked in for the next 2 years, but possibly.
So you guys are going to be in need of a quarterback. Why don't we just do a one for one, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Love? They both start with J, both in the same draft class. Not really, but we'll pretend they are. And yeah, 1 for 1. JJ for JL.
Aren't they in the same draft class? Weren't they both rookies last year?
No, yeah, they were.
Because I
thought Jordan Love had been. I thought this was his third year for some reason. I'm an idiot.
No, this will be his year number 2. Because we had 22 and 25. We took JJ. We traded out of 25 to like 29, and then you guys traded up to 26, I think, something like that. But yeah. So I wrote down 1 for 1, J-Lo for JJ. And you want me to pass this on to Dusty to get to Zim and Spielman and the crew?
Yep.
All right. I mean, Dusty's on vacation right now. We did zero senior correspondence for the show. I wanted them to have a little summer vacay like the players are having right now. But maybe I'll shoot him just a nice little casual text, see how he feels. Last mention here for the FanTASTY Zone before we roll on, we are starting a Discord. It's going to be dead in the summer. That's how it's always going to be, and it's going to be even more dead when I have the notification setting set to mentions only. So your phone won't be blowing up if just 2 people are having a conversation in there, but hopefully it'll become more natural just to check it during the football season. Plus, I think like this show, you'll get 2 notifications a week. So for even the super casuals like Brian, Jamie, Hammer, for those who don't want your phone blown up about the podcast, I'll just send out an at everyone probably twice a week, once before the show and once when we go live. So even for the most casual people, join the Discord, get in there. You can have conversations if you want, or if not, you can still at least get the notifications when we go live, because Facebook stinks and their post to get in people's feed is all dumb. The algorithm stinks. So we're moving on from Facebook. Discord is what we're going with next. So Brian, you old whites, whoever looked at the Facebook, get into the Discord, pretty please. Link is in the bio. All right, Josh, we got our first Fave Favre coming at the fans here now. And today we wanted just to talk about I know it's obviously July, but we want to talk about some players we like this year. We'd reach for, maybe even some sleepers. And then players we're avoiding from the top to the bottom of the draft board. So, not really, that's the best transition I got. I don't know if this was kind of your idea, so I don't know if you have anything else you want to say about it. But yeah, we're gonna be talking about some players, a bunch of Fave Favres going at the fans' way.
Yeah, no, I kind of like this idea. We went back and forth. It started off with that top 100.
Yeah, I was like, Josh, that's a little ambitious.
Scoring system, but I didn't think that I figured if we were to agree to that, then we'd have given ourselves a little bit more time. But I like this one where it's Favre, like you said, Favre guys that we're avoiding and Favre guys that we're not. And so I did notice that you said Fave Favre. I only did Fave Favre. So
no, it is Fave Favre.
Okay.
If I said Fave Favre
good.
verbally, that was a mistake. I'm sitting in last season. We are Fave Favres from here forward.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, if you want to kick it off, I did get notes based on the criteria you sent me last night.
Okay.
So if you want to just explain what you had did or done, and then people understand where we're coming from with our super duper professional 100,000% accurate analysis.
Yeah, I mean, my professional title as like an employee of this earth has analyst in it, so I know what the fuck's going on, Josh. I know spreadsheets and shit. So anyways, just to off the top, just so people know that we've got Fave Favre categories. So we got we're gonna do Favre blue chip players we're avoiding. So kind of guys in the first 3 rounds, or kind of guys that are quarterbacks and tight ends get pushed down. So maybe top 5 at that position. But Favre blue chips we're avoiding. Favre guys we would reach for. So guys we would take at least a round probably before what their ADP is sitting at. Favre guys we are avoiding down the board. So probably rounds like 4 through 8. Guys we would not take with our picks, and then Favre sleepers that we're stashing. So Josh, now each have 16 players here, a bunch of Fave Favres, and we didn't compare notes, so we have no idea. We could have the exact same 16. I find that unlikely, especially based on a couple of mine that I know Josh love. But so those are the 4 categories, and we'll probably just do one category at a time to keep things simple. But yeah, Josh, why don't you start out with, so what I want to do we'll go with the blue chips we're avoiding. That'll be the most controversial thing, probably. The guys in the first 3 rounds that we're not taking. And then I think you should do it, I don't know if you ranked them, or I have mine listed like by their ADP. So I would go from the bottom to the top. So start with the guy with the lowest ADP, and then work your guy to like the highest ADP that you're avoiding. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yep. I have the ADP written down, so I didn't make it in any specific order, so I can try and figure it out.
Sure.
But so the highest ADP that I put down to avoid, and I do want to have a disclaimer that by avoid, I don't mean avoid altogether on some of these guys, but
just at their ADP, you probably wouldn't take them.
Yes. Have some hesitancy when it comes to these guys, just based on situations. And the highest one I have is actually Alvin Kamara. Somebody that you probably didn't expect me to put on there, but
100% I did not expect you to put down Alvin Kamara.
I just remember him without, and this is more so if Taysom Hill is the starter.
Sure.
I don't think that'll happen, but without Drew Brees dumping it off to him, he did not have very good games. He did win me a dynasty championship as well as a guillotine league with his 6 touchdown game, but with Taysom Hill, he was not doing well. Taysom Hill kept vulturing his touchdowns on the goal line, and so he is going to be my kind of someone to avoid unless we find out more about the starting quarterback situation before the draft.
Okay, well, Alvin Kamara.
Do you want me to just keep going?
Let's go back and forth.
You can go.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's go back and forth. And I forgot to plug earlier. We're using all Sleeper's ADP. Sleeper's a great fantasy app. We all love it. They're not paying me any money to say this, but if you follow their Twitter every week or every 2 weeks or so, they'll just tweet out their current ADP. It's just a Google Doc. You could make a copy for yourself and mess with it. That's kind of what we did for this. So shout out to Sleeper for releasing their ADP. I prefer that over like Fantasy Pros or whatever, instead of a consensus topic for what people are actually picking. So. And I did try and tend you to go in inverse order, so the lowest to the highest for the blue chips, but since you didn't, I also had Alvin Kamara down for a lot of the reasons Josh said, so I won't sit here and repeat everything Josh said, but Alvin Kamara at the ADP of 3, I already have Alvin Kamara in at least one league, and I think maybe 2 going into this next year, so I mean, I already have my Alvin Kamara share, so not everyone will share that experience, but it's like, that team got imploded. That defense is a skeleton of itself, if you could even call it a skeleton. The quarterback situation's uncertain, obviously. You can have success, and Sean Payton is a bit of an offensive wizard, and he is definitely going to give Alvin Kamara every opportunity to succeed, but that, Sean Payton can't, run the ball for Alvin Kamara, so at an ADP of 3, if I had 3rd overall, I'd probably, depending on the 2 people that went before me, I'd probably be taking Saquon, or I think last year Derek even went receiver all the way as high as 3. So I mean, there's probably a couple other players I would take before Alvin Kamara at 3, myself personally. So yeah, Josh, so let's go in inverse order for the last 3. Who's your lowest blue chip you're avoiding?
Najee Harris. He has an ADP of 23.
Okay. So that's right at the end of the second there.
Yep. And I just feel like looking at a handful of the other guys that would still be available on the board, just, taking them, somebody who's proven themselves, especially in that offense last year. James Conner had come in off of a great season and he struggled. And then they had just a RBBC by committees. Galore. I think they had 4 different guys at running back at some point. Our correspondent Titan would probably know a little bit more, but
look no further than Eric's. How dare you, Steelers fan extraordinaire?
I suppose he's awake. Eric's. Yeah. Sorry,
in the chat. Boy. He says blasphemy, Josh. He is not happy with what you're putting down right now.
I mean, I've always been hesitant on rookie running backs in a redraft league that early. So like Zeke's rookie year, I was not on him. Same with Todd Gurley. A lot of those guys that were considered to be the top running back in their draft class, just because they're the top in their draft class doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be, world breakers. So.
Gotcha. All right. So yeah, Eric's is probably not happy about that, but it is fair to note that the Steelers' O-line is not looking great this year. So we'll see how that goes. My next blue chip that I'm avoiding, the lowest on my list, he'd be kind of at the start of the 3rd round. His ADP is currently 27, and that's Michael Thomas. So I took 2 players from the same team. For the rest of my categories, I tried to go 1 player each position, but this time I was like, Derek took Michael Thomas 3rd. I'm almost positive, 3rd or 4th in our redraft league last year. Michael Thomas has fallen to the 3rd round, so that might feel like a value, but I still don't think I would touch Michael Thomas with a 10-foot pole. At least at the beginning of the 3rd round. I feel like I'd rather take a tight end or maybe the best QB if one didn't sneak off the board in the 2nd round. Michael Thomas, quarterback situation's uncertain. Can this guy only run slants, or is he really the full receiver that we think he is? I don't know. And what's the rest of the team around him look like? Could you name another receiver in New Orleans right now?
How dare you?
Go ahead. Who do you got?
I don't know. I'm sure that there's some guys.
The only one I can think of that came to my mind as I asked that was Adam Troutman, their tight end, and he is going into his 2nd year. So yeah, Michael Thomas, I'm avoiding this year in the first 3 rounds. Who do you got next, Josh?
Next is probably another one that you're going to be shocked on.
Oh no, Josh! I don't know if I can take this. Hold on, let me. All right, go ahead.
I put down Joe Mixon.
Joe Mixon, that's your guy.
His ADP is 18.5, so it looks like he's getting somewhere in 18, 19. So late 2nd, somewhere in there. But I mean, they didn't go left tackle. They did get some late players, but they have a quarterback coming off a knee injury, a rookie wide receiver, and that is it. Their offensive line has not improved in the last 45,000 years. And so I just don't have any faith on him. He's a great player, has some great games, but I don't think that he's worth that mid to late second round value that he's being drafted as. And I know he's been taken at that kind of point every year since he's entered the league, and I don't think he's ever kind of lived up to that value.
Sure, that's what everyone wants of him, but he hasn't quite delivered. Interesting. You're glad. Luckily for you, Mika's not awake right now, or he would just be blowing up the chat as well, just pissed. But I think it's
he agrees that their offensive line is atrocious.
Yeah, I mean it's like 10 or 11 in Western Australia right now. So my next guy, ADP at 22. I went running back heavy here in my blue chips to avoid, but I got J.K. Dobbins at ADP 22. I mean, that's the end of the second round, so it wouldn't be crazy if you're on the 2-3 turn to grab J.K. Dobbins and then another player. But to me, it's just, there were so many touchdowns last year. They re-signed Gus Edwards, not to a big contract, but, they're either going to, keep pushing Lamar throwing running himself, or they're going to get Lamar to sit in the pocket and throw more. So it's like, I don't see J.K. being as nearly as efficient as he was last year. Just a lot of touchdowns. I think there's probably a couple other running backs in that, 2-3 turn I'd prefer myself. I don't know if you have any other thoughts on the JK, but JK I'm avoiding this year.
I like JK. I think that if he were to fall to like the third or fourth round, I'd grab him, but late third, early fourth, that sort of thing. But I agree on your takes there that they just had so many different running backs, and Mark Ingram didn't take too much away from him last year, but like you said, they re-signed Gus Edwards. Lamar's their number one running back, and yeah.
And they signed a bunch of receivers this offseason. They've drafted a couple, signed a couple. So, I mean, whether they're just going to be decoys on the field, they're there. So, all right, Josh, who's your last guy, I believe?
Yep. So this one is going to be one that it was very hard to put down, but I thought about the situation more, and it's, I'm going against our rules of who we'd avoid, but I'd probably take him if he fell to this point. But Saquon Barkley at 5.
Oh, okay.
I'd be hesitant just because coming off of an ACL tear.
Sure.
He's still rehabbing that. I mean, it sounds like his rehab is going to be done, so he'll play the whole year. But they got rid of their best offensive lineman in the offseason, I believe. Daniel Jones is still their quarterback. I don't think that team, they have a new head coach.
Show a little respect for Joe Judge, please.
I'm not judging him, but I'm just saying new head coach. So I don't think that he's going to have that ADP 5. But like I said, it would be very hard to pass him at 5th pick. So
yeah, I was talking about taking him at 3. So
right. And I was going to comment then, but then you follow that up with start with your lowest.
Well, I just figured the lowest are like the least hot takes. So we want to, lead the people. End with the hot takes, you see. So
okay, but yeah, so that is who. I just don't think that the situation is beneficial because obviously that offensive line is a struggle bus as well. Daniel Jones is Daniel Jones and new head coach. So situation is kind of unideal.
Sure. Yeah, and I don't necessarily disagree with that. I think I already have a Saquon share, but I wouldn't be afraid to take Saquon, anywhere 3 to 5, 3 to 6, depending if someone goes receiver or something crazy up top. But my last guy, this one probably also a little controversial because he has every single fantasy owner in existence hyped about. You would definitely take this guy early in a dynasty draft, but for this year specifically, I would not take him in his ADP of 6, and this is Jonathan Taylor. I think 6 is a bit high for the JT, myself personally. I would not take JT at 6. I mean, if we're looking at the sleeper ADP, there's Nick Chubb, Tyreek Hill, Zeke, Devontae Adams, Travis Kelce. I mean, I think at 6, if the other top 5 have gone of McCaffrey, Cook, Kamara, Henry, Barkley, I'd probably go Hill or Kelce or even Adams right there. I don't think Jonathan Taylor's worth all that. I mean, Marlon Mack's coming back. Everyone knows how good Marlon Mack is, but Naeem Hines is still there. Carson Wentz, I don't know how supportive he has been of running backs over the years. So yeah, I don't know. I think 6 is a little high for JT. So I definitely feel comfortable taking him towards the end of the first round, but at 6, I would rather take a top receiver or Kelce or something. I think personally. I don't know. How do you feel about that, Josh?
He was kind of my honorable mention. So I agree with everything you said. So I think that 6 is a bit high for him. He was on my list originally, and then when I rewrote it this morning, you went first through third round, and so I had an extra round of players to add, and and the ADP on sleeper was different than what I was looking at. So I took him off because I think that 6, I mean, between him and Barkley at 6, I'd take Barkley. But yeah, I'm not going to take him in the top 6 picks.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I do think the future is bright for Jonathan Taylor. He obviously has the talent. I just don't know if I'm in love with it for redraft for this year specifically. So I'm not trying to dog JT, but just 6 feels high to me personally.
Yeah, I don't think we're saying these guys are bums or that they stink.
Right.
But we're just saying that these are guys that probably aren't going to live up to that ADP just based on some things.
Right. You're thinking twice about it at least. All right, Josh. So that's our first Fave Favre category done. What do you want to do next? Avoid downboard, reach for, or sleepers?
Let's do just avoid downboard. So we did 1 through 3. Let's do guys in the mid rounds where championships are won that you want to avoid.
Okay, and then again for this one, I'd say do reverse order if you have their ADPs down. So then obviously the higher, which should be the more controversial if you're avoiding them technically by ADP reasons. So who do you got first, Josh? Who are you avoiding downboard?
So the furthest down the board on this list for me is James Conner at 85.
Okay.
I mentioned him earlier with my Najee Harris take, but he's going to Arizona. Arizona has Kyler Murray. They also just got AJ Green at wideout. They have DeAndre Hopkins, so the offense isn't necessarily the worst thing, but Connor was injured a little bit last year, struggled a bit with Pittsburgh. I see that team is more of a Kyler Murray focus than it is their running back, just because they also had, oh boy, who'd they have last year? Kenyon Drake and...
yeah, I mean, Chase Edmonds, I think, is technically the lead back, but...
Chase Edmonds is still there, yeah. So, but he had an ADP of 85, so I just... I saw that and I was like, no thanks, hard pass.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I can't disagree. I mean, James Conner is certainly not that exciting downboard. And I mean, when you get too deep, I mean, it's like you're splitting hairs anyway. So that's why, I mean, I kind of cut it off at round 8. So we weren't getting too deep in there. But I have a guy with a very similar ADP. I wrote down 85 for this guy's ADP. So maybe we were either looking at different days or I could have screwed up the number myself. But I have Joe Burrow. We were just kind of talking about it. Obviously, there's plenty of weapons. Joe Mixon. They've got T. Higgins. They've got Jamar Chase. They just drafted instead of an O-lineman. But I if they're the same team as last year and they're going to be passing the ball a lot, they're a one-dimensional team. And even if Joe Burrow has 50 passing attempts, that doesn't mean he has 50 completions. It doesn't mean he threw for 500 yards. So, I mean, there's a lot of quarterbacks you could take. And I know kind of Joe Burrow, how quarterbacks and tight ends work. If you don't take the top ones, usually wait kind of till the end to take one at the bottom. But I definitely at an ADP of 85. That's kind of the beginning of the 8th round, end of the 7th round. I would not take Joe Burrow there, no chance. So, and even if he fell to the bottom, like kind of the end where QBs are getting picked up, I don't know if I'd take Joe Burrow then. So,
yeah, no, and I think the numbers based on ADP are I'd use the sleeper on the computer instead of the list that you posted because I didn't see that list till later. So
sure, no worries.
Maybe yeah. So moving on, next one I have on here. With an ADP of 57, Dak Prescott.
Interesting.
I know. I mean, he was.
I mean, you hate the Cowboys though, so it's not that shouldn't be that interesting.
Sorry, my dog's just bolted. So yeah, I don't like the Cowboys, but Dak Prescott last year, I'd be a fool to admit that he was doing bad, or fool to admit he wasn't. On pace for MVP. He was killing it till he got hurt. And that injury is one of the reasons why I put him on this list. So 57 in 12-team league, or I guess in our stance, a 14-team league, that's 4th round still, isn't it? 3rd round?
What is it? Sorry, what's ADP? 57?
57.
That'd be like the end of the 5th. Or in the 14-team league, yeah, it'd be a little earlier. Sorry. I have everything written down for 12-man league. So in a 12-man league, that's the end of the 5th.
Yeah. And so I just don't think that, like you said, with quarterbacks dropping, you wait till the end to grab somebody, just because that injury was brutal. And so I don't think that he's going to come back at 100%, maybe a little bit of hesitancy to pull the trigger. And so that I'd be hesitant on taking him.
No, I mean, I respect that. Fun fact, I'll be talking about Dak Prescott a little bit later myself. So, but for my next guy that I'm avoiding down board, and this is a guy I think the fantasy community is actually high on this year, and I'm just not. I don't see what everyone else is seeing. I've got at the ADP of 82, Kenyon Drake. He was signed to a pretty big contract for a backup running back with the Raiders this offseason, and I think that whole situation's overblown. I mean, Josh Jacobs, maybe he hasn't lived up to every single bit of hype that people would want of him, but Josh Jacobs is still a good running back. I mean, he's not like you'd be happy with Josh Jacobs as an RB2. I feel pretty confident. So yeah, I mean, I just think everyone's kind of overblowing how much John Gruden's going to use Kenyon Drake this year, and so an ADP of 82 doesn't feel that high in an 8-man league. That's the end of the 7th still. But I mean, if we're looking at backup running backs at that point, I think there's probably a couple other guys I would take over Kenyon Drake. It seems like the floor might be a bit higher than other guys, but it feels like the ceiling isn't that high. So, and in fantasy, don't you want the high ceiling for a lot of backup guys? So, yeah, I don't know. I don't like Kenyon Drake. Who do you got next, Josh?
Next, at just one pick ahead, according to ADP on Sleeper, Kenny Golladay, 56. New team. It's the Giants, so he's either going to get hurt or never get the ball, because that's kind of how Giants receivers have been the last few years. Mm-hmm. And so I just don't think that he's going to amount or do a whole lot. He's a great receiver, but he's dealing, like I said earlier, with Squan, bad O-line, Danny not so dimey.
How dare you?
Bad offensive line. So bad offensive line. Have I said that yet?
I don't think you've mentioned it. No, okay. I think Kenny Golladay is going to be a guy that lots of people are avoiding this year. I thought about putting him on my list, but I was like, that's probably low-hanging fruit, and Josh picked it as well. So I mean, you're not wrong. You're by no chance wrong by listing him. I think a lot of people will be avoiding Kenny Golladay this year. So that's a good one. My next one with an ADP of 65, I literally have no reason for this. I was just going up and down the spreadsheet of the ADP, and I imagined myself, if I'm sitting there on draft day, I'm up to pick, and the ADP is 65. So this is kind of early 6th round, mid 6th round. I was like, if I saw this guy's name, would I pick him? And I was like, no, I won't. But literally no reason. This is just the truthiness gut feel. Brandon Ayuk. I'm not drafting. Jimmy G is fine. Trey Lance is going to be fine. Jimmy G is fine when healthy. He got them to a goddamn Super Bowl. I don't know if anyone remembers that, but when I see the name Brandon Ayuk, I am in no way excited. If Brandon Ayuk was to do bad for me, all fantasy year, I'd just hate myself for it. I'm definitely someone who believes in drafting a team you want, fill it with guys you want, so then if at least you're losing, you're happy with the guys you drafted. And if I saw Brandon Ayuk's name, I wouldn't take him. Literally just maybe I'm racist, maybe there's some sort of truthiness bias inside me, but I don't know. I just saw his name, was like, I don't want to draft this guy, so ADP is 65, Brandon Ayuk, I'm not touching. Who's your last guy, Josh?
With an ADP of 38, Mike Evans in the reigning Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense. Very touchdown dependent. I've hated this human being since I drafted him like 5 years ago.
Doesn't he have like 5 or 6 1,000-yard seasons in a row?
Yes, but they all come in. He has like 3 300-yard games and then nothing the rest of the year.
Gotcha.
I just don't like his volatility. But then that offense is also, they have more wide receivers that are, ADP top 100 or top 100 than any other team. They got Antonio Brown, they got Scoot, they've got Godwin, they've got Evans, they've got Gronk, they've got and then 3 running backs too. So I avoid him at all costs almost every single year. I took him 1 year a couple years ago, and it was the worst decision of my life.
Yeah. All right, Josh. Well, you're not gonna like this last one I got here. There's an ADP of 48. He's a tight end. He wears a purple jersey. Mark Andrews. I'm over it. They added so many pass catchers. They're very intentional about continuing to add pass catchers. They say they want to be a run-first team. Mark Andrews kind of fell. He didn't fall from grace. He was still a good tight end last year, but Robert Tonyan was tight end 3 last year. Let's talk about that. So Mark Andrews at an ADP of 48, which is literally the end of the 4th, at the 4-5 turn. I'm not touched him. I don't like it. I don't want it. So maybe you're cooler on Andrews than you were before, and maybe you're like Garlic. That's literally the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my whole life, but I don't want Mandrews this year.
it's okay to be wrong. Yeah, I don't think I'd take him at tight end 3 anymore. If he were to, what did you say his ADP was? 65?
No, 48.
48. Yeah, I don't think I'd take him in the end of the fourth this year. I mean, when I took Andrews, it was round 13. And then, and so that's, when I look for tight ends, I usually don't draft a tight end unless like someone like Waller or Kittle are sitting there in the third round. That's when I'd take them. But I don't typically take a tight end until the end of the draft anyways. And I try to look for those guys that would be a hidden gem. So I wouldn't take him in the fourth.
Gotcha. Okay, well that's another Fave Favre category down. Josh, do you want to do, which one do you think is the best category, reach for or sleepers? I want to end with the best last.
I think reach for, don't you?
Okay, so then we'll do sleepers here and then reach for last. All right, Josh. So reach for, I don't know. It depends on how far you're reaching. I don't know what order to read this in, whether it's top to bottom or bottom to top. But I guess if you can try and read it. Or no, this is sleeper. So I don't know. Just read it whenever order you want. What am I saying? Just forget I'm talking.
Okay. I'm good at that. So I'll just keep the kind of the trend that we've been doing with the highest number first. So Chuba Hubbard at ADP 166.
Sure.
So kind of right near the end of the draft. He is the backup to McCaffrey. McCaffrey was hurt last year. He's their offense. They have Sam Darnold. So I don't know. Obviously, McCaffrey's going to get his touches, but I don't think they're going to run him into the ground like they did 2 years ago, just because they do want to prolong his career, I'm guessing. So Chuba Hubbard coming
hopefully
in and then he's 166 ADP. I think that taking him at that point would be a great get.
Yeah, and on the reverse, if they do run him into the ground by like week 8, then you've got, we saw what happened to Mike Davis last year. Then you've got a stud running back for the second half of your season if you hold him that long. So, I think that's a great handcuff play for sure. A guy that'll sit on your bench for a while, but, he could blossom into something incredible. I like that. For me, I'm going to go top to bottom on my list here. I got Jamal Williams, currently at an ADP of 146. He is now running back for Detroit, and he's sitting behind DeAndre Swift. But, I know you can't really trust coach talk, but Anthony Lynn showed it last year with Josh Kelly and Justin Jackson even a little bit. Anthony Lynn, the OC there, does not care, how much money you're getting paid or where you sit on the depth chart. He's going to ride the hot hand. He's going to, whoever's moving and grooving, that's who he's going to give the ball to. And Jamal Williams has the capability to lead a game and to lead a team. We both know that. He might not be as sturdy as some of these, big bruising backs, but he can catch the ball. He's elusive. So, you could play him in your flex, or you can sit on your bench and hope that DeAndre gets hurt. But I think Jamal Williams definitely has an opportunity to, at an ADP of 146, that's, at the 12-13 turn. He definitely has a great opportunity to outperform that by a lot. So, I like Jamal Williams this year.
Moving on to my next one, ditto. I had Jamal Williams as well.
Nice.
So, pretty much the same exact reasons. So, who did you have next?
Sorry, yeah, I flipped the list on you because I'm an asshole. I got Carson Wentz next at an ADP of 153. I was just kind of down talking Jonathan Taylor, but realistically though, rehooking up with Frank Reich, which is where Carson Wentz had his most success, and you're not taking Carson Wentz at 153. I guess that's the 13th round, so that's not crazy. But you're probably taking him, if you're taking defense and kickers early, you're probably taking him at the end of the draft because Carson Wentz isn't going to go earlier than that unless you have a Jesse in your league. So, he's got a great O-line, plenty of weapons. T.Y. Hilton had a bad year last year, but I think that was all mental. he still physically can catch the ball and all that. So, I think Carson Wentz has if you're taking a QB at the end of the draft, I think Carson Wentz has a great chance to be a QB1. That's just saying he's 12th. That's not crazy. So, I like Carson Wentz this year as a sleeper. Mo Alley Cox too, but I didn't put him in my list. Who do you got next, Josh?
Coming up next, I got Darnell Mooney.
Okay.
ADP 127.
Jalen Rejoice.
Came off a decent year last year in that offense. Allen Robinson's clearly their number one wideout and a stud, but Darnell kind of stepped up in the spot of the wide receiver 2. And with the new quarterback, who knows what they're going to do. But I do think that if he's still available, at that point, he'd be worth picking up, especially because wide receivers, when they get their opportunities, they do well with them.
Yeah, I mean, I think Darnell Mooney definitely has the potential to have a good year this year. No question about it. My next guy is a tight end. He's at an ADP of 195, so technically not even on the board if you're just a normal 12-man league. But I mean, people are going to draft him. He's a starting tight end in the league. This is Anthony Ferkser. He's now the starting tight end in Tennessee. We saw Jonnu Smith flourish there last year. And they're going to need a tight end to catch the ball. I don't care how good A.J. Brown or Josh Reynolds or Julio Jones are. You're going to need a tight end who can catch the ball. And in the red zone, that's what Ryan Tannehill looks for. He looks for a nice tall guy to go up there and catch the ball. So I think Anthony Ferkser is a nice sneaky tight end pick if you're waiting until the end of the draft to take one. Who's your last sleeper, Josh?
I guess, I mean, Marlon Mack is my last sleeper.
Oh, return of the Mack.
Yeah, I mean, his ADP is undrafted. It was like 200 something.
Sure.
So I just thought that was ridiculous. He got hurt last year when he was the starter. He came off of a 1,200 yard season.
Marlon Mack's good.
Before that,
people sleep on him, hence sleeper. But
and so I feel like if he's available and you're drafting Mr. Irrelevant there at the end, well, take him. His ADP is undrafted. I find it hard that that's going to be the case, but who knows?
Right. No, I love Marlon Mack. I loved him last year. He was supposed to be my starting running back, and then absolutely ruined my season in one of my leagues. So that was awesome. Because that team was pretty shallow. But also, anyways, my last sleeper, this guy's also off the draft board technically just by ADP. He's an ADP of 208. And this is John Brown. Was just a wide receiver for the Buffalo Bills. He has now moved on to be a speed guy next to Henry Ruggs in Las Vegas. Gruden loves guys like this. I definitely see a great opportunity for John Brown in Las Vegas. Nelson Aguilar was kind of a surprise last year for the Raiders, and I think John Brown can come in and take up a lot of those receptions this year. So I think, if Henry Ruggs is, take the ball deep, take the top off the defense type of receiver, John Brown will be able to eat up either on the other side of the field or eat up underneath or whatever. I think John Brown, he's a guy that's probably going to ride your bench, but if he starts to go hot, you can trade him, or you can be like, fuck yeah, I got this guy literally as the 16th round pick, and now look at him. So I think John Brown's a pretty good sleeper pick. All right, Josh, we are 3 out of 4 categories done. We're going to do our guys we would reach for last. And so this one, I think it makes sense to go from the lowest ADP up, because I assume the higher they are on the draft board, the less you're reaching for them, so to speak. So you want to go from the least reach to the most reach. Does that make sense, or is that not really how yours works out?
I guess it doesn't matter. They're about the same, the numbers between them, except for, we can do that. So you're saying
I'm going from the top of the bottom. So the lowest ADP, the guys drafting highest to, guys drafted lower.
Yep. Nope. That works.
All right, what do you got?
Coming in for my first one, ADP of 36, Terry McLaurin.
Okay.
I feel like, they got Fitzmagic. They got Heineken Man himself. That offense wasn't bad last year, and so they have Antonio Gibson as the running back. So that offense is solid. He's the number 1 wideout. I feel like in a 12-man league, end of the 3rd round, I'd be willing to take him in early 3rd, late 2nd. And so I even put players down in their ADP that I'd take him over or instead of, and I put down Najee Harris, whose ADP is 23.
Okay, well, there you go. I like it. So, at an ADP of 36, so you're definitely, like you said, early 3rd, even maybe sneak it into the end of the 2nd there. You like McLaurin this year, and I will shout out Jack in the chat. He says McLaurin will be a beast this year. So I don't know if you want to change everything you just said because you have Jack aligned with you, but Jack also loving McLaurin this year.
Guys who I'd avoid in rounds 1 to 3, Terry McLaurin just made the list.
Oh, poor Jack. He doesn't deserve that. But yeah, so I have a similar guy. I have a guy similar with an ADP. I didn't think we'd both have a guy kind of this high on the list, but I have Chris Carson. His ADP is 39, so he's projected to go kind of right at the 3-4 turn, early 4th round. And kind of, I mean, it depends on how your draft board falls to you. If receivers and maybe even a couple tight ends and quarterbacks creep up, then other, quality running backs will fall down. That's just the way she goes. But at 39, I think that's a little crazy. Like, I would definitely take Chris Carson early 3rd, no problem. So that's like, 25, 26, 27. So, I mean, I think in that range of running backs, I mean, hold on, let me just pull up the list here so I don't sound crazy. I mean, CEH is probably right in line with Chris Carson for me, but Josh Jacobs, Miles Sanders, there's no chance I'm taking those guys ahead of Chris Carson. David Montgomery kind of in the same range as well. I think I'd take Chris Carson over all of them. So, I mean, I'd reach for Chris Carson with an ADP of 39. I'd take him in, late 2nd, early 3rd, no problem. Who do you got next, Josh?
It's kind of funny that you just talked about Chris Carson because my next on the list is Kareem Hunt, number ADP 55. And I had written down I would take him over Chris Carson with his ADP of 39.
How dare you?
So it's not that I hate Chris Carson. It's just that, I mean, if I remember correctly, he hasn't necessarily played a full season. How
many running backs play full seasons these days?
99%.
That's not true.
But the other person I wrote down was Mike Evans, ADP of 38. I would be fine taking Kareem Hunt in the mid 3rd. I mean,
mid 3rd, okay.
Oh no, wait, 38. I'm wrong. Mid 4th. So that is, I don't know. He's done well. He gets his opportunities. He catches passes out of the backfield. They line him at wide receiver. So I mean, obviously Nick Chubb is their guy, but when Nick Chubb was down, he stepped up in a big way. You're smiling. So who said what in the chat?
Jack just said, should I just list all of the guys I like so you can both put them on your do not draft list?
That's typically how it goes.
Yeah, okay. So that was I mean, obviously you're hot on Kareem Hunt, and I actually thought about putting him on the guys I would avoid this year, so that's interesting. But yeah, I mean, the value, I can certainly see where you're perceiving the value, and I don't think that's a crazy argument to make by any means. The next guy I'm reaching for, Josh, you mentioned him in your avoid down board. This is a guy I want at least probably 1 or 2 shares of this year, and I'm not afraid to take him in the 3rd or in the 4th. He's got an ADP of 57, which is end of the 5th. This is Dak Prescott. I know there's a lot of people out there who are telling you to not overvalue his first 4 games or whatever it was last year where they were just going crazy gangbusters. And I mean, obviously that's something you look at, but even before that, Dak Prescott has proven himself to be a top fantasy quarterback, no question about it. So at an ADP of 57, I mean, depending on how the QBs start going, if there's a run on QBs, and I'm not afraid to lock in my guy, in the 3rd or in the 4th, probably end of the 3rd, but moving into the 4th, I'll take Dak Prescott. I have no problem. I definitely want to share 2 of him this year, and I would happily reach for him to get him on one of my squads since I have so many. So I like Dak Prescott this year, and I want him. Who do you got next, Josh?
So it's going to seem like I'm attacking you because you just attacked me. But
how fucking dare you, Josh?
Your avoids later on.
Yeah.
I have Brandon Ayuk.
Oh, you son of a... No, okay, go for it.
I would take him over guys like Jamar Chase, DJ Moore, who are, ADP 53 and 47 respectively. So somewhere, late 4th in a 12-man league, somewhere instead of the 6th round, like he's currently being drafted. Main reason is because he did come on hot last year. After I have a stat pulled up here. He, before he got hurt in week 16, he had 3 games in a row, 5 games in a row with 20 points. So he's not a bum by any means. He was learning the offense last year. They have guys like Kittle, but I believe that and he takes carries. He's just an explosive player. Jimmy G, even if he is a starting quarterback, I could see Ayuk getting his targets as well. And yeah,
excellent.
I would reach for him over someone like DJ Moore or Jamar Chase.
Well, let the record show Josh is a better fantasy player than me. He knows more than me, but also I really gave no good reason other than I looked at his name and wasn't excited. So I'm not saying you should listen to me. I'm just letting you know what my truthiness, what my gut told me. So it's okay to be wrong, Josh. Not a big deal. Jack,
Sorry,
I would
Dad.
like to. No, it's okay. I would like to acknowledge, Jack, that you put a question in the chat. I see it. I saw it, but I'm going to ask it at the end because I think it'll flow. The conversation will flow better if I just ask it once we're done. So my next guy, he's got an ADP of 26, which I mean that's obviously what is that, the 11th round. So this is a guy I would take as high as
Did you say 26?
126.
Okay.
Yeah. No, he's got an ADP of 126, and that's the 11th round. I would take this guy as early as the 6th or the 7th round, so I would reach heavily on this guy. Maybe it's just a lot of people not like him he's a rookie, but wide receiver for the New York Jets, Elijah Moore. I mean, every person I've heard talk about this guy tells me this guy is going to be amazing, even if you don't believe in Zach Wilson, even if you don't believe in the Jets organization. Everything I hear about Elijah Moore tells me he is supposed to go gangbusters this year, and I want some shares. I want Elijah Moore on some of my teams, and I'm not afraid to reach 6 rounds if I have to get this guy in my team. So I love Elijah Moore going to this year, and I'll reach for him, no problem. We got last, Josh. Who's you reaching for last?
Ooh, I had 5 on this one. I just realized. So
That's okay. A little bonus reach.
I'm gonna have a bonus reach for everybody. But coming up next, none other than Big Bob Tunyon.
Oh,
ADP of 99.
Bobby touchdowns.
Obviously, he was very touchdown dependent last year, but it was also, I mean, if Rodgers comes back, even without Rodgers, I feel like he'd still produce, just because the offense is designed to have that kind of movement and allow tight ends to succeed. And so before LaFleur came over, he had Jonnu Smith in Tennessee, and he did well. And so I would take him over someone like Gesicki in Miami, whose ADP is 86. So not going to reach up 6 rounds to grab him, but somebody, if tight ends are taking a run and then you're looking around and you realize, holy crap, I'm either going to have to take Big Bob Tunyon here and or Gesicki, I'd go Tunyon.
Okay. You know what? I respect that, especially since Miami just drafted another tight end this year. My last guy, and so again, we've talked a lot about how tight ends either tend to go at the top of the draft or you wait all the way to the end, one of your last picks, kind of like the quarterback position as well. But this is a tight end I like this year. And Josh, you might feel a little bit personally attacked by this one, but I think the old Hunter Henry gets hurt way too fucking much. And tight end, or New England needs successful tight ends. So I'm loving Jonnu Smith this year. Obviously, Billy B signs 2 big name tight ends in Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry, but Hunter Henry just can't stay on the field, man. And if you need a tight end to succeed in New England, Jonnu Smith, let him eat up every reception out there is. So he's at an ADP of 142. So, I mean, again, he'd probably get pushed down to the end of your draft if you didn't go early, but I wouldn't be afraid to take this guy in the 8th round. If he's projected to go at the end of the 12th. I mean, I wouldn't take him too crazy early, but I'd reach for Jonnu Smith, no problem. So I think, I keep saying New England needs a successful tight end. I think that'll be Jonnu over Hunter, but maybe you feel strongly in the other direction.
No, I was pissed at those signings just because I love both those guys and I want them to, because they're both tight end ones wherever they go.
Right.
So it was shocking to see them both go to New England, but I do think that that's a fair take. As a Hunter Henry owner in Dynasty, he does get hurt quite a bit, but he's when he is playing, he is good, and so but I can see your take and accept it.
Uh-huh.
So, but that bonus one I was talking
bonus
about,
reach around. Here we go.
Yeah. Somebody who a lot of people are sleeping on, it seems. I think we had a comment on, or there was a podcast that some people might have heard of with somebody who tried to have a humor bit on our show, and then another guy whose fantasy advice is questionable, and he might have been in the chat earlier today as well. But AJ Dillon at 117, I would take him as early as late 6th, early 7th as a reach. Melvin Gordon is currently going at ADP 70. I would definitely take AJ Dillon over Melvin Gordon. Both of them are RB2s at this point. And then because Jamal Williams had 50% of the snaps in Green Bay. So who's going to take those? None other than the Quadisi himself. We saw what he could do when he has that opportunity to be the lead back when he was playing Tennessee. 2 tutters, 100 some yards. So I think that he's going to have a solid second season. And I would not be afraid to pull the trigger over Melvin Gordon.
Gotcha. I mean, yeah, it's shocking Josh will throw a Packer in the day. I didn't talk about a single Viking, Josh. I was very disciplined.
I just talked about back-to-back Packers.
Another guy I reached for, I considered putting on my reach for list, but I was trying to go one at each position. I like Amari Rodgers, too, in Green Bay this year, so I'll just give you, I'll throw a bonus reach out there as well. Okay.
I just about put all my reaches as Packers because he was almost on my reach list too.
Okay. We've got Jack blowing up the chat here. I'll address them not in the order Jack gave them to us, but he says, where's Quadzilla Jr., a.k.a. Mike Davis on this list? So Josh, I'll let you know that Mike Davis is currently at an ADP of 102. Obviously, he's currently the lead back in Atlanta. They could sign Todd Gurley or sign another, an Adrian Peterson or some sort of free agent off the street, but is Mike Davis a guy you're reaching for? Is he a guy you're avoiding down draft? Is he a sleeper? How do you feel about Davis?
I don't know. I guess I don't even know how old Davis is, but whenever I see his face and see his name, I think, all right, so this is Frank Gore's twin. So he's probably ancient. I guess I don't like touching him. If he's available and there's no other running backs in sight, I might pull the trigger on him just because he is having that opportunity to be a lead back. But that offense is still going to be pass heavy with Ridley and Pitts. So I don't know. I'd avoid him unless I look in the next available running back is Adrian Peterson.
Gotcha. For me, Jack, I think Mike Davis is a guy I would reach for. With an ADP of 102, I'd definitely take him as early as, the 6th, 7th, 8th round, if he's currently going at the end of the 9th, mid-9th. So I wouldn't be afraid to reach on Davis if I'm looking for another running back to add to my stable. So another question he asked was, Josh, would you feel comfortable with Kareem as your RB2? I know he's usually one of your guys. He just worries me as higher than my third running back versus others who are the clear-cut number one on their teams. So would you be comfortable with Kareem Hunt as your RB2?
I had him as my RB2 last year in our league, in the Hidden Oaks League, and finished with the most points 10-3 regular season record, third place champ. So, I'm comfortable with him. So obviously PPR league's probably a little bit more than standard, but I think that last year I took him in like the 5th or the 6th round. And so, yeah, I'm a fan of Kareem Hunt, obviously, but as an RB2 in standard, maybe not.
Gotcha.
Just because, yeah.
One other question Jack asked, does Josh just have any Packers on his list, or any Packer on his list? Any Packers that you hate at their ADP, Josh? So you're probably not familiar with every Packers ADP, but is there anyone you can think of that you wouldn't take probably where they're projected to go? Like an Alan Lazard or an MVS or something like that, I'm guessing.
I wouldn't take MVS. I'd be afraid he'd drop my team on the way to the game. But Rodgers, I don't think I'd take, just because I think his ADP is still pretty early, 5th or 6th round. I probably wouldn't take him. I mean, Adams, he's up there. I'm not going to take multiple Packers. The only two that I'd consider having on the same team would be Adams and one of the running backs. But overall, Rodgers, MVS, those are guys that I'd avoid.
Gotcha. Well, there you go. There you go. You heard it here first, folks. Josh is not going to slobber the knob of every Packers at their ADP. All right.
Tell them that I want all the Packers and I just didn't want them to take those two.
Genius strat, Josh. Well, that's where all our Fave Favres, and honestly, I didn't think that would go as long as it did. We probably could have split that up into 2 different pods if we wanted short ones, but what the hell? We had good conversation. The chat was popping off a little bit, so we appreciate that. We'll go ahead and transition into our outro here, Josh, unless you have any other thoughts about kind of the blue chips we were avoiding, the guys we're reaching for, the guys we're avoiding down board, and our sleepers.
Nah, bruh.
Okay, and then I guess I have one last thing to say because I don't think I said it earlier. Just so you understand, the guys we're differentiating between reaching for and the sleepers. So obviously, with the guys we're positive on, guys we're reaching for, we're taking well above their ADP, and sleepers, well, as much as we'd like them on our team, we're probably taking them a lot closer to their ADP versus reaching 1 to 6 rounds for them. So in case that wasn't clear to any of the listeners, but we'll move on to the outro here, Josh. It's the end of the show. For final words, I just wrote down. I've been thinking a lot on it. And we've done a podcast play along the last couple of years, and it's because the Champions League already has so many people that would also participate in the podcast play along. I'm thinking maybe we'll just count the Champions League as the podcast play along this year, unless you want to commission the podcast play along yourself. To me, it feels like it would be a lot of different things to manage and a lot of things for our, the 4 fans we have to participate in. Maybe you feel differently, but I don't know. To me, I'm thinking about, do we do it this year? Do we just say it's the Champions League? Or I guess, I don't know. Maybe I'm having second thoughts, I guess, in mid-July here.
We could think about it when we get closer to the 272.
Okay. So, yeah, that's just, we always ask fans for feedback, and, we usually don't get a whole lot in the summer here because I think fans are just listening and then moving on. But so that's just something. Because I think we had originally planned to do a guillotine league this year, but a guillotine league, I think that's a requirement of 18, 17 members. So that'd be a lot. That'd be a lot of us owner slots to fill. So. Jack's in the chat again. He says no podcast play along DFS. Jack, we were going to try and switch it up just to keep it fresh. And then he also said retiring as the all-time champ. So yeah, Jack, you won the DFS last year. We've heard about it about 50 times. Josh, we will see all these lovely people in August for the inaugural 272 and more. I know we usually have a slate of like 3 or 4 preseason podcasts. And for the 272, because it's so many games, do we split that up into the AFC and NFC or something like that? Just so we get a little more content, but also a little more time instead of trying to cram it all into the hour. How do you feel about that?
I think we should just do it all at once in a 15-minute episode.
If you can get us to not talk that much, because we both love to ramble and both to share our opinions. So I don't know if that's really possible.
Splitting up sounds good. AFC, NFC.
All right, so that'll be what we'll do for the 272. We'll be back probably mid August, maybe August 20th or something. I don't remember what our rough schedule is, but we'll be back August sometime for the 272 and more. HiddenOaksOverdose@gmail.com, anchor.fm/hoodpod, and our Discord are lovely places you can interact with us. HiddenOaksOverdose.com is a lovely website Josh put together. It has links to our podcast, also has little info about us, and it has our league history for our league of records. So we would love for you to check out that and give us any pointers if you'd like to see something else on the website. So everybody, we hope you have a lovely day, and we will see you in the next one. Bye. Dude, no matter what we do, we always stretch it to an hour. I think if we had literally one bullet point in the whole goddamn note sheet, we'd talk about it for an hour, dude. It doesn't matter. We can't help ourselves. It's incredible.
Wow. Yeah, I know, right? We are incredible. Yeah. What are you doing now?
I'm gonna, upload the podcast and all that stuff to Anchor, and then I don't know. I'll probably get on Xbox or go for my walk. Why? What are you doing? Is Nikita still out and you're bored or what?
Yeah, she's going to be out. I'm going to have lunch on my own. I don't know how I'm going to do it.
All right. Well, you go have your lunch. I'll do this.
I'm not gonna now.
Well.
But yeah, I'll probably hop on the Xbox. I gotta kill some bugs and then potentially, zombs.
Eric's. We're still live on YouTube and the song's gone and everything, but last thing in the chat, he said, "I'm still here. Pop the champagne." Eric said, "Love you. Goodbye."